Welcome back to SpectreVision. This week, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2.
Hello and welcome to SpectreVision! Garbage Day! We're covering Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2 today.
Part 2. That's right, last week we brought to you the original classic, edited back to its full, disgusting, murderous glory, and
We decided to punish ourselves this week and watch Part 2.
and the fun thing about Part 2 is it includes 40 minutes of Part 1, so that's about how this week's been going.
Yeah, if you liked the first movie, you will like this one, because it is
Mostly the same movie.
the first movie. Yeah. However, Ricky is a fine addition to this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky is... I would love to see a movie co-starring the guy who played Ricky in this movie and Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, hi, Mark.
That would be an amazing sequel to The Room, but not like The Room, a little bit more murderous.
Yeah. So it has a lot of these flashback sequences that start with Ricky being in the hospital, Ricky being Billy's younger brother from the first movie. And, Ricky is in a mental hospital. He's being interviewed on tape. And it's all this sick analog tape equipment, and you're kind of getting wet for that.
Oh, yeah.
At least we are, because...
Yeah, analog tape. I've actually done transfers of that to digital, which is pretty badass. But you see that stuff, and that stuff goes for a pretty penny on eBay, and they just fucking trashed it.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Ricky's terrible at acting. It's notorious as a film for that, so what are you going to say other than that? He has a lot of weird lines. His delivery of lines is bizarre. His laughing
Yeah,
and shit, it's fucking...
this guy shouldn't be allowed to act in anything, let alone a McDonald's commercial.
Yeah. I've acted in a McDonald's commercial before.
I know. You've actually got a better resume than he does.
Yeah.
Better portrayal of a real human.
Then I was in 2 shows that were canceled on the first season, so still a little bit better than this guy, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%.
And I wrote a script that was rejected by Universal, so there you go.
Still ahead of that guy,
Still coming out on top, guys. So,
even though he's a verse.
oh yeah. There's no fun in just being the top.
Sometimes you gotta be the bottom.
Well, for example, that's really none of your business.
I mean, if you have a partner that's a strict bottom, you're gotta accept that. Getting pegged is not for everyone, but luckily Nick's mom doesn't mind, so I get it.
Yeah, Nick's mom's really into this stuff. And if you are not familiar with the Nick's mom stuff, just listen to the podcast. Don't just watch the videos. You gotta listen. We talk a lot about Nick's mom. And actually, I'm surprised she wasn't in this movie, as bad as it is.
Yeah, it's true.
Because some of her acting skills remind me a lot of that.
Obviously, you recognize the line,
Garbage Day!
if you've ever seen memes before, but pretty much because it's pretty popular at times. But it comes from this movie in a very weird scene where he finally mentally breaks down and just walks around and has a fucking shooting spree. And there's a guy taking out his garbage, and he's just like, garbage day, fucking shoots him through the garbage cans, and the guy fucking collapses,
Oh, yeah.
and he
Just
laughs
takes him
like a
out.
maniac.
Takes
It's fucking
him out.
ridiculous. But awesome television, or movie, but you know what I mean, I'm watching it at home on television. It's awesome entertainment, even though it's trifling garbage.
So much of this movie is like just him flashing back, telling his story about the shit his brother went through, so they're able to reuse all that footage. Like, they tried to do this movie on the cheap, like real cheap. So they're like, okay, how can we do this? So 40 minutes of recycled footage kind of interspliced with this other garbage, this terrible actor. But you know what? Up until the last minute, this movie had me on the edge of the seat.
Yeah.
Because
we were pretty fucking active.
Ooh, oh man, you should have seen me. I was like fucking pacing the room like a goddamn caged lion.
It was like we were watching the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian in here.
Yeah, I was waiting for Mother Superior to die. And you know what? They fucking didn't let me down. Oh god, it was a fucking Christmas miracle.
You kind of caught me off guard here.
You killed that Catholic monstrous bitch.
Yeah, seeing her head roll around on the ground was pretty fucking, like, satisfying, finally.
Oh god, it was beautiful. It was glorious. All the sex crimes that she allowed to happen to these children under her watch
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did.
were fucking paid for by her beheading.
Yeah.
And it was glorious.
I don't think there's any new booby shots, just old recycled boob shots from the first movie. So there's just as many boobs, but same boobs. And, you know, that's okay, I guess.
Yeah,
If you like the same boobs over and over again.
it's really
But we live in a modern society with, non-monogamous relationships where we don't have to put up with that.
Do what you want. The internet allows it.
Pretty much.
If it makes you happy.
I'm definitely going to watch both of these every Christmas, but what I can say is, when I watch this one, from now on, I'm going to skip the segment that is 40 minutes of the first movie repeated.
Yes, there's actually a decent movie in here that's like a made-for-TV special worth 20-30 minutes worth of content.
Yeah, it's...
Really, if you skip all the flashback stuff because you just watched the first one, you're going to watch the second one, like a lot of people do when they watch a movie and a sequel. Well, geez, there's an idea. You get to skip all that and get your time back. It's like a 2-for-1 coupon. It's like a buy one, get one Big Mac for all you
Most
fast
horror
food
fans
junkies.
are used to having to deal with some cheesy garbage movies in franchises. So you can't really expect much out of the sequel of this movie, considering how ridiculous the first one was, although enjoyable.
Now, I gotta say, I walked in with low expectations, but my expectations were basically setting the bar on the ground when he's like, yeah, they recycled footage from this. And then we had to go through there. But there were some fun kills in this movie.
Victim by victim.
Eventually, when you get to the new stuff, especially the scene where he's hunting down Mother Superior at her house because she's retired from the church and the orphanage has closed. And he gets to axe down through the door, which is
This is
epic.
after he's finally dressed as Santa, too. Because he's
Yeah.
not dressed as Santa for most of the movie, and it's just flashbacks, so you see that stuff, but...
Even his early kills. And then there's some really interesting stuff where he kills this guy in a movie theater, which is kind of fun and kind of wild, and then
Yeah.
he kills another guy that's fucking basically this chick's ex-boyfriend that he's trying to date, so it's really just fucking over the top. You kind of see him just going crazy. Not in the depth that you get out of the first one, because the first one's like unbeatable, that you get to see like this guy go through this like traumatic bullshit to become a crazy killer, where everyone just like triggering him, and everyone's like, well, I don't know what the fuck his problem is, piece of shit. And this one, you know, you kind of skip a lot of that because they just retell what happened to his brother, and you get some good stuff out of it. It's kind of entertaining. There's probably, what do you say, 20 minutes worth of entertainment in this movie?
Oh, yeah.
I'd say more like 30 to 40, depending on the actual length of the movie. Because literally, if you just cut out the other stuff, I think it would make a decent movie. It's just that they relied too much on the flashbacks and shit, and it just... There shouldn't have been any flashbacks.
If you've seen the first one, you don't need to see that all again to watch the second one, right? Yeah, you get it. And even the way they end on a cliffhanger in the first one, like where you see him like being like, what's he say, naughty or something?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things he says, naughty and shit like that. And then Ricky says that a couple times too, I think. It's such a weird departure from the first one. Like, they could have been such a good movie, but knowing the history behind it and how it was made with that extra 40 minutes of garbage is just so weird and like a sign of the times.
Lazy, like indie filmmaking, and it's not necessarily lazy, it's more just being cheapskate, right? They're like, how do we cash in on this? Because apparently it did well probably on the, you know, the home video market starting to come around at the time, right? And, you know, obviously that's really when the horror genre blew up, was home rentals.
And they made at least 3 more. There's Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, 4, and 5, which you can look forward to us covering next year, perhaps, or at least one of them. We'll see what happens. They continued after this movie. That's the thing to take away from that right now.
Ultimately,
this movie, as bad as it is, they still were like, well, let's make another one.
Ultimately, someone was like, you know what? Maybe we can recycle 40 minutes, 20 minutes from this one, 20 minutes from that one, and then we'll add 20 more new minutes, and then I can't even talk today. And you'll just have a great time, just being like, hey, we're going to recycle everything here.
That's what they should have done.
I mean, basically, there's a good movie in the second one, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
If you do something with it. The third one I can't speak to, because the third one still carries on the current storyline, basically.
So that's from what I gather, yeah. Ricky does get shot in this one, but then he, like, seems to come back to life at the end. So.
He's kind of, like, laying there, like, looking at you like he's not really dead, so it's kind of just one of those, like, ooh, did he really die? He's not supernatural, but bullets don't necessarily always kill people, so...
Right. I don't know, it's weird. It's one of those things. Like how Michael Myers started getting weird and just continuously being alive and shit, too.
Yeah, and it's one of these movies, like, just take the concept and have it be a different killer every time just doing that. Someone, like, just loses their shit on Christmas and dresses up like Santa Claus and kills people.
I will say the first Silent Night, Deadly Night has been my favorite Christmas horror movie.
Yeah, and we've watched quite a few recently,
4
right?
at this point?
Yeah, and I watched even the 2019 version of Black Christmas, which...
Yeah.
There's a few decent moments in. I'd rate it better than the 2006 take, but the original's still the best. Hands down. So
I don't know if I have too much else to say about this one. If you haven't seen these movies, definitely at least check out these first 2 if you're a film person or if you're a horror person or if you like holiday Christmas horror films. They're interesting and entertaining.
And if you're ever thinking about getting into movie production, or maybe you made your own movies or anything like that, watch the second one specifically, because it's a lot more interesting when you say, like, hey, if I had to do this on a budget and I had to do that, but you had to take elements from this, you know, like if you're just practicing editing is almost what this felt like, was like how do you take something that exists and work around it to make it your own project is kind of what that felt like. It seems like, oh yeah, we're going to learn how to edit, so we're going to be taught all these concepts of editing and then writing around that. And when you look at it that way, it's more interesting as an exploration of how to do something with it as a learning tool, but not as something that should have been released.
It has its place. That second half is worth it.
Yeah.
Even if you just watch the first one and then skip all the scenes you recognize.
Even if you just go to the last chapter or two on the DVD or Blu-ray and watch Mother Superior getting killed.
That's not worth it, I don't think. I think you got to see him go on his neighborhood rampage because it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you were as pissed as I was that he didn't get a fucking axe that bitch in the first one.
He was pretty goddamn triggered when it didn't happen, I remember.
I was very emotionally upset.
You can check
about
that
it.
out on our other... we covered the first one last week. You can check that out on the page
down
too.
below in the videos. So, we will see you soon for the next episode. Take care now.
There's no fun in just being the top.
Oh, God.
Being the top.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Catholic, oh, God. Monstrous bitch.
Sharp
Catholic
day.
bitch.